Howdy, folks. We're back here tonight, with another cinnamon raisin bread review here in beautiful Tacoma, Washington. It's currently a Thursday, October 17th. Sunny day, generally speaking. Some cloud cover, but nothing crazy. Yesterday it rained a lot. I think it's going to start raining a decent amount later on. Before we jump into today's raisin bread, I wanted to address some controversies from the last video. Firstly, going forward, we're going to be making sure that every single bread is toasted and buttered as well. I think that this allows the bread to put its best foot forward, so to speak. Typically, if it's room temperature, you're not going to get those aromatic, smells and flavors, which is a critical aspect of cinnamon. And so you're just going to erase a big part of the bread. So because of that, we're going to be going back. We're going to be re-reviewing the France cinnamon raisin bread at another date. Today is a different bread. A second point is shout out to Carlos. He recommended that I make these videos shorter. So I'm really taking that to heart, and we'll see what happens. So jumping right into it, and keep in mind, I'm an imperfect man. I make mistakes. This is the second video. I'm sure it will have its own errors, but things slowly become more beautiful than what they were yesterday. So, with that being said, we're going to be jumping into today's loaf, which is the Sunmaid raisin bread cinnamon swirl. So, looking at this guy already, ingredients, we got to go in for that as our first check. So, we got 14 servings per container, 90 calories per slice. If you've watched my previous video, you'll know that I kind of view 100 calories as like a critical threshold for like flavor potential, texture, moisture. A lot of these things kind of rely on that. That doesn't necessarily mean that sub 100 calories is inadequate, but it definitely is a bit of an orange flag. So keep that in mind as we go through this. But looking at the rest of the list, we got sodium, 115 milligrams, which is 5% of your daily intake. So this would be a good electrolyte drink. Total carbohydrates, 6%, amazing. Total sugar, 7 grams, which is nice. And keep in mind, this is one slice. So we're going to get some of that sweetness. And then protein, 2 grams. So shout out to my weight training friends out there. This may be good for recovery. Who knows? Ingredients, we got a few of them here. Let's call it the really fun ones. Contains a bioengineered food ingredient. We're living in the 21st century, folks. It's goddamn. Okay, unbleached enriched flour. Great. I'm really happy that that's the first ingredient. Well, we got some enzymes. We got some yeast. We got some butter. So, all good things. There's some lemon juice powder. So that'll be kind of interesting, I'm sure. That could be fun. Who knows? So, ingredients, it's sub 100 calories, but we do have good return on the sugars, which is nice. That kind of brings me a little comfort, and I like the amount of carbohydrates, fuck it, And I find it interesting that there's a bioengineered food ingredient as well. So we're going to give this bad boy probably an 8 out of 10. Okay, so now we're moving into the aesthetic of it. So first, let's do the bag, I'm really loving just this bag design, honestly. We got these bright red colors. Is rich, almost like aortic blood, almost, like some kind of arterial thing going on. bright life, vitality. I find that very good. Tomatoes as well, if you want to go that route. And then we've got these yellow accents, you know, for the text right there. Up here we got these little sun markings. Really nice. I feel like it's hammering home an aesthetic like España or something. Maybe I could see this woman right here, this young woman in the north of Spain, perhaps, picking grapes, you know. Wow. So, and then down here we've got this nice graphic, you know, of the bread itself which is just a pat of butter right there, and then we got the 2 sticks of cinnamon right there. So what that's signifying to us is that, you know, they're proud of their cinnamon content in this. You know, they're invoking that imagery for us, which means that I think they're confident about their cinnamon content. So we'll be jumping into that. We will be the judge of that naturally. So looking at the piece itself, the piece of bread itself, we've got, and keep in mind I've toasted this. This is a show. Really nice brown color. Even before I toasted this thing, it was this beautiful, rich brown. Very comforting, to be quite honest. I feel like the lighter the bread is, it invokes this sense of weakness. So I'm really glad that we've got a nice brown color going on. A lot of raisins in there. Aesthetically, very promising, I would say. There was a nice browning on the top, so it's looking good. The only thing that is making me a little nervous about this, and it happens, everybody's different, is that this thing is tiny. It's, I could put this in my wallet and bring it out for later. And that's not necessarily bad. A lot of great things come in small packages, but what are we paying for here right now? What are we doing? And I think the smaller it is, because these things are fucking tiny, smaller than, the width of my hand. So I'm swearing too much, so I need to stop swearing as much. So aesthetically, really great on color, baggage, or advertising, I guess you could call it. Color, advertising, the formation of the raisins even is very nice. But the size is definitely dragging it down a little bit. So I would honestly give this bad boy maybe we're gonna go in with an 8.5 out of 10. So, not terrible. So, aroma. These things aren't warm right now, but however, we can glean some evidence off of the bag sniff as well as the bread sniff. So, I'm getting a bite of the raisins right now. Bite of the raisins, the acidity of the raisins, that tartness, which is really promising. You want that in a cinnamon raisin bread. Going for the sniff check on the bread itself. Even though it's not warm right now, you get that beautiful brown bread smell to it. I put some butter on this thing as well, so that, that always is going to help. The crust is nice. I'm not smelling a lot of cinnamon. Now, this could be because it's cooled down a little bit. So, we got to be aware of our limitations. I am not good enough at recording videos to cut this and come back and suddenly I've got a warm piece of bread in my hand. So we're just going to take it at face value, because sometimes you got to do that. But the aroma of the bread itself is very nice, and that butter does add a little bit. Bag check's good. The bread itself is really nice on aroma. I am going to honestly bump that up to probably a 9. Yeah, 9 out of 10, I would argue. I think it's really important for, because we we see, and then we smell, and then we taste. You know, it's so the eyes have the first bite, but the nose has the second. So you need to be very aware of that when you're baking these kinds of things. So yeah, I'm gonna go in with a 9 out of 10. Maybe subject to change though. It could become a 9 out of 5. You never know. I mean, I would let you know before I did that. So, you know, we've done our ingredients, we've done our aesthetic, we've done our aroma. I'm trying to think of if I have any other notes on this right now. Density is looking good right now. Yeah, let's touch on density right now. My main concern for a loaf that has less than 100 calories is that you're gonna get like this very airy, light, shitty little piece of bread that doesn't hold its heat well, that doesn't hold flavor well, that like gets crushed as soon as you try to spread butter or peanut butter on it. And it's just like, you know, it feels drier because it's got way more airflow through it. So moisture is going to get whacked off. It's not good. But I will say that the size to caloric ratio of this bread is probably in a really promising range. Because yes, the calories are lower than 100, you know, it happens. But the bread itself is physically smaller as well, which could mean that that we are back into a ratio which is acceptable. Now, one of these days, I'm going to do some research. I'm going to figure out the caloric mass. I don't know. Yeah, I think that would be. You got to like burn it. You take like 1 ounce of something, you light it on fire. I don't know how it works exactly, but like, you know, I would just take the stats off of the ingredients list. And then I guess I would weigh the bread itself. And so then you'd be able to figure out what 100 calories would theoretically look like. So I think maybe, you know, I might even have a revision to that on ingredients where, yes, the size is small. And yes, it is below that 90 calories. But taking into the fact that, you know, those things could match up very well, it may jump up from an 8 out of 10. So we'll go back and look at that after we've done our flavor test, which is coming up right now, in fact. So jumping into that, I'm actually going to take, well, I'm going to do 2 bites. I buttered the hell out of this one because that's what you got to do, you know. So we're going to take a bite of this guy first. God damn it. That is incredible. That could be just the butter speaking, though. So we're going to go in for the lighter of the two. See how that goes. It's not just the butter speaking. That is the bread itself, which is an incredible thing. You know, it's typically we gotta get these things all like supported with other things. You gotta put butter or jam or peanut butter. You gotta toast it, you know, in order to make it much better than what it already is. But in a case like this, you know, this bread is sitting pretty good by itself already. You can tell that even when it's buttered and toasted, you're like, this thing stands up. So we're gonna try just like the raw, unfiltered toast or bread. Yeah, I mean it holds up excellently. Let's go back to our highly buttered one. So things that are jumping at me right off the bat. The bread itself tastes wonderful. You know, it's a rich flavor. and it's a good texture, which is super important. And you can just tell that there's a lot of love in this thing, you know, which I got nothing but respect for. You know, it's beautiful. And it's got that beautiful color as well. Like, I keep coming back to it, guys, but seriously, it's, you know, you got to see this in real life. You know, go get a loaf of this stuff. And that could be due to what we were speaking about previously, which would be the juices of the grape have leached out a bit. Now, this coloring is like pretty even across the board, so it might not be that, but it invokes a sense of like, ooh, you know. And so these raisins do a great job. Rich flavor, not as much of an acidic bite, I will say, as the France cinnamon raisin bread, but the cinnamon in this comes in so wonderfully. It's not like this frickin' cinnamon strudel thing going on. Like, it isn't. It's like a lot more of the aromatic nature of the cinnamon. It's not as much of like a cinnamon sugar, but that's good in these things. I feel like cinnamon sugar can really easily overpower a lot of other elements going on. So I'm really glad that they allow the bread and the raisins to take the forefront in this thing. But, you know, cinnamon's just as important in this thing. Or not just as important, but like, you know, trying to remember the analogy I used last time. It was a very vague one. The bread's the vehicle, the raisin's the driver, and the cinnamon's like sitting shotgun, you know. So, really great stuff. Texture is also just absolutely fantastic. And naturally, we'll come back to the France cinnamon raisin bread because, you know, we didn't give it a fair shot. However, I've eaten tons of it toasted, and I will say this blows it out of the water texture-wise. It's got good chew. It's got good mouthfeel. It's just got a really nice thing going on right now, and it's small as hell, you know, like, this is probably the size of like an iPhone 4S, but, you know, what can you do? So flavor, I'm going in with a 9.5 out of 10 on the flavor scale. Yeah, fantastic stuff, honestly. Trying to think of what I would like to see more of. And I'm not quite sure yet, you know. It's, I think we're all on this journey together. I think as I gain more experience reviewing these things, those will become more clear. So, but flavor, 9.5 out of 10. Really, really wonderful. Now we're getting into raisin content. So somehow I've managed to take a bite out of all three of these. I will be enjoying them after this. Like, I would never in any shape or form waste a slice of cinnamon raisin bread. That'd be horrible. You should never waste food in general. In fact, I believe it's 40% of all food that is produced in the United States of America goes to waste. So don't be part of that problem, you know. Anyway, going into raisin content, let's look at a raw. So I should get a fresh one. I'm not going to take a bite of this one. I'm just going to show it to you. I don't put 4 goddamn slices. It's ridiculous. Okay, so this is closer to the center, which is really nice. So good raisin content throughout, a nice spread. What I find interesting about these raisins is that they're a lot smaller than I feel like what you typically see. They feel like either shreds of raisin or maybe a smaller variety or something. I don't know exactly what's going on, but you know, it's a good look. You know, it feels a little more organic. I feel like sometimes you encounter a loaf of cinnamon raisin bread where it feels very like computerized, you know, where it's like you've got some AI placing the raisins in there, and they always look, I don't know, kind of strange. But this feels pretty personable. You know, you got a little gap right there. It's a good look. So, and then also, naturally, as we pointed out, we also have that leaching from the raisin going into the bread itself. So we've got that kind of caramelization going on, which is always a great sign. So raisin content. Could there be a little more? Yeah, there probably could be. Let's be honest here. But I think that which there is pretty fantastic. So I think we're going to be giving this raisin content we're going to give that a 9 out of 10. Pretty high praise so far for this thing. And, you know, for those of us, you know, who don't want to rewind the video. So we've got our ingredients, 8 out of 10. Aesthetic, 8.5 out of 10. Aroma, 9 out of 10. High marks. Flavor, 9.5. Raisin content, 9. So now we're jumping into moisture. We've already spoken on that a little bit, but I think it does deserve its own place. Like, great moisture in this thing. The density of the bread really protects it, I think. And it allows those raisins to shine, because as we were talking about before, you know, a lot of the moisture of the raisin comes from, a lot of the moisture in the bread comes from the raisin. So, you know, but the bread itself in this case is very moist already. So it protects itself well. I would be totally comfortable eating these things without toasting them, without buttering them. They're great by themselves. It doesn't have that like weird yeasty cold smell that you get from some breads. And I think moisture is like a linchpin for whether or not you're going to eat a piece of bread toasted or untoasted or toasted. If you're really going into it for flavor. So, moisture itself, god damn, I might give that another 9, honestly. Hell, that deserves a 9.5. I don't know why I would give it a 9. You know, it's pretty goddamn up there. So we got ingredients, 8 out of 10, aesthetics, 8.5 out of 10, aroma, 9 out of 10, flavor, 9.5 out of 10, raisin content, 9 out of 10, moisture, 9.5 out of 10. So let's add those up. So this is going to be out of 60. It's going to be a pain in the ass to calculate. So 8 plus 8.5, 16.5. 16.5 plus 18.5 plus another 18.5. So give me a minute here. 18.5 plus 18.5, so 18 plus 18, that's 36. 36 plus 1, 37. 37 plus 16.5 would be 37, so 38.5 plus 5 is 42.5. 52.5? 52.5, I think. Okay, 52.5 divided by 60. Christ almighty. I would use my calculator, but it's my phone, and we're recording on that, so we can't really use it. But 1 divided by 6, though, is like 16.666666 repeating, I believe. So 5 out of 6, you know, that's pretty high up there already. Okay, you know what? We're going to fly by the seat of our pants a little bit right now. I would be easily willing to give this thing, at the very least, an A-. Probably encroaching more on like an A. You know, it's not enough that we have the scores themselves, you know, isolated from one another. It's composite. And, you know, yes, we add them all up and we divide it and we've got a number. But it's a rare thing to find a raisin bread which is truly the sum of its parts. Frequently, you've got one shining thing, or a lot of times you don't got anything. You know, it's just like this military, standard issue, like sad frickin' thing going on. But really the only marks I can levy against the Sunmaid raisin bread with the cinnamon swirl would be the ingredients, which really isn't fully the case. Aesthetic, because it's frickin' small. But beyond that, like, we're getting into like nitpicking territory. So I would be willing to give this thing like we're gonna go with a 92%. So for our folks out there who went to school, that's an A-, you know. So that's our score right there. 92%, we got the A- right there. Beautiful work by these guys. It's made and distributed by Flowers Bakeries, LLC, from Thomasville, Georgia. So clearly they know something about it down there. And, you know, wait a goddamn minute. Address correspondence to Sunmaid Growers of California. So Fresno, California, they grow a lot of wine, like grapes down there. They pair with the folks over in Georgia. They got something beautiful going on. It's that Southern sun, perhaps. So I would really recommend checking this stuff out. Be aware of the points that we levied against it, but like, you know, please just go enjoy the flavor. Do what you got to do. I got no more notes at this point, so have a great night.